County Supervisor here in Lodi. We're going to try to have a very informative meeting. Senator Helming's here tonight, and we're going to talk to everybody as much as we can. We're going to try to be as fair and equitable to everybody that's here. We're not going to take a bunch of shouting and yelling and stuff like that because we're all civilized folks. And to start with, we're supposed to be civilized. I don't know who's laughing at. Over here on this side is Mike Mears, he's our town attorney. This is Luke Latini, he's the deputy supervisor. And Trevor Sibley, Paul Badner, Waltz from Ovid, Senator Helming, and I'm sorry folks, I don't know you.
Scott Shealy, New York State DEC. John Gibbs, New York State DEC. And John Sexton, New York State Department of Transportation.
First off, I'd like to have all you folks stand up, see the flag over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to have a small moment of silence while you're all still standing for our troops. Thank you. Please be seated. And from Seneca County, we've got Tony DiGiovanni, John Shepard, and however many other people you have here from Seneca County. I see that...
Can't hear you, lady. Yeah.
Can you now?
Yes.
Thanks, Carol.
That's okay.
County Soil and Water is not here. County Soil and Water is still
But we've got somebody here from the health department. And so we don't usually do meetings like this, folks, so you're going to have to bear with me a little bit because we've got an agenda of sorts. And I guess the best thing we can do right now is maybe have Senator Helming talk to us a few minutes about the latest governor reports that have come out.
Thank you, Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to say it's great to be here, but I'm sorry we have to be here under these circumstances. The first thing I'd like to say is thank you to everyone. As a community, you have banded together and you have really done an amazing job of taking care of your family, your friends, and your neighbors. To all of our volunteer emergency responders, fire departments, the sheriff's office, and so many others. Again, I just want to say thank you. You are doing an incredible job. And that goes out to the state agencies as well. I've been down here numerous times since the day of the flooding, and it's such a great sight to see everyone working cooperatively and everyone working together. So thank you all so much for that. When I was down here, let's see, the last time was on Saturday. I spent quite a bit of time both in Lodi and over at Lodi Point and talking to residents, several town board members from both the Lodi and the Ovid Town Board. Both supervisors met with me. Chairman of the Seneca County Board of Supervisors, Shipley, was with us, as well as the county engineer. So we went around, we looked at properties, we talked to people, we looked at the creeks, we went upland as far as we could get to see, you know, where is all this water coming from. But one of the things that really struck me as I toured around was that it seemed like there was almost a lack of communication. as I moved from pockets of people, everyone was kind of in their own little silo as to what they knew, and some of the information that was going around, it's not accurate. For instance, one of the things I heard about was that FEMA's here, now FEMA's taken over. That's not what happens. FEMA's going around collecting data to see what the total costs of damages are, but that's all. The state hasn't pulled out. The state is not going to pull out. The state's committed of seeing this through to the end. And along those lines, to get the communication ball rolling, I reached out this morning to Kathy Calhoun. She is the Director of State Operations. She works directly for Governor Cuomo. And I shared with her some of the specific things that I had seen and I had heard about, creek beds that still aren't stabilized, that if we have another rainfall, it's going to do worse damage now because of the way things have been graded or haven't been graded or haven't been cleaned out. I shared with her so many specifics of things that I saw. I also talked to her about the lack of communication or information sharing that seems to be going on. And what we came up with was that tomorrow there will be a conference call for the local elected officials, town level and county level, who's ever interested, with the governor's senior leadership team. And for that meeting, I would encourage the county and the towns to have all of your questions ready to ask, talk about the damages you have, etc. That'll be a good time to get information. And as far as the time of that meeting, that information will be being sent out to all of us. And then getting the information out to the public, how are we going to do that? And I think the best way to do that is to hold a public open house, where we have representatives from every one of the state agencies available to answer your questions. Unfortunately, last year, part of my district includes the southern shore of Lake Ontario in Wayne County and Hewitt County, and we had that horrendous flooding up there. So the public meetings were a crucial, important part of relaying information and hearing back from people on what their questions still are, what's still on their minds. So we're going to hold a public informational meeting. It looks like it's going to be on Thursday. The location is still being worked out, and it'll be several hours long so that you could stop in when it's convenient to you. As soon as we have the location nailed down, we'll get that information out to you. One of the places that's being looked at is Sampson State Park. But again, there'll be more information coming there. Also today, I had the opportunity to meet with the Commissioner of Ag and Markets, Commissioner Ball. We talked about, there's been so much focus, as there should be, on the homes that have been lost, the personal property, but there's also been damage to some of the ag land surrounding this area. I talked to Commissioner Ball. He's well aware of that. I know he's working with DOT. DOT has a list of things that they're working on. So I guess my message to you is the state hasn't abandoned you. We haven't left you. We're still here to help out. I don't have all of the answers to the questions that you probably have. I'll do the best I can to answer, but I do want you to know we're here, and we're going to be here until the end. As far as disaster relief funding, that's another question that's coming up over and over. And I reached out this morning to Senate leadership. The leader of the Senate talked to him about the need for some sort of relief, some funding. I also reached out to Senate Finance, so we're working on that. We're looking at what is in the budget, what can possibly be used to help out. And I know that Kathy Calhoun, when I spoke with her, she's reached out to the Division of Budget. So we're working on it from two sides, and hopefully, I don't know if it'll be as soon as Thursday, but as soon as we have that information available, I will make sure that it gets out to you, or the state agencies will make sure that that information gets out to you. Again, I just want to thank everyone for everything you're doing to support each other, and I'll be around after the meeting. If you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer them, but thank you all so very much.
Thank you so much, Senator. This is considered a regular town Lodi Board meeting. It's an extra emergency meeting. And we are going to have some things before the end of the evening that we've got to take care of. But the first thing we want to do, there's a little red table up here with a yellow tab on it and a pin on there. If you'd like to come up and talk to the board and everybody else that's here, please come up in an orderly fashion, sign in, and then you'll have 3 to 5 minutes to explain a lot more than you'd have time to explain.
That's We'll go through this first.
Okay.
Get everything out first.
Okay, the first report that comes in, if you folks picked up the report on the way in, is the Seneca County Emergency Management Office, Tony DeGiovanni and John Shepard. So Tony?
Thank you. I want to reiterate what Senator Helmy has said, that it's a pleasure to be here amongst you. I just wish it wasn't under these circumstances. I've been in your communities, talking to many of you, and I've seen the devastation, and have been by your side as much as I could, and just want you to know that we're committed to help. The state has not left. I'm working very closely with the State Office of Emergency Management. We're actually on a phone call this afternoon, a conference call with state, local, and town officials, talking about a debris management plan, which I'm sure is at the top of your list, as what I've heard. We are working to create a plan that will help us all. We have told the state that at the county level and at the town level, we're pretty taxed as far as resources. So we're trying to work with them to come together with a plan for that. At this point, we're still in the phase of trying to gather the information, trying to gather what your needs are. So we have set up a 211 phone call that if you call 211, if you have debris that you need moved off of your property and you just don't know what to do with it, we would like you to call 211, give them your name and your address, your phone number, and basically the kind of debris that you have. If you're able to estimate about how much you have, that would be great too, but we're really interested in the type of debris. Is it woody debris? Is it rocks? Is it household, couches, appliances, things like that? And you can call that number for other things as well. Whatever your needs are, we want to know about it. I'm getting a report and I'll be following up on it. I actually just got my first report today, so I apologize for any delay that you might have felt on that respect, but we are getting that information in. As far as, I know that you've heard that FEMA's been here. You probably have seen them. We went down and did, last week we were doing the individual assessments and for the preliminary damages. This is just where they're collecting the information. They're just to see if we qualify for a presidential declaration. And this week they're going to be here to do the public assessment. So you'll also see them here probably on Wednesday and Thursday. You might see people around with me and with some other people. That's, again, now they're doing, that last week was the individual assessments, this will be the public assistance assessments, preliminary assessments. So we'll be doing that. That's really all that I have for you right now. I do know that the DOT, I think that there's been some confusion or some talk that maybe the DOT has completely pulled out. That is not true. They're back to normal operations, working 8 to 4, but that is, they're very much on scene. I guess that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Tony, what about that thing about before Wednesday, 9 o'clock a.m., the FEMA reports from residents, whoever,
that's for public, that's just the public information. So basically I need anybody that works for like the town and villages, yes, I need to have all of that, because we actually did that for the individual assistance last week. And I had a list of all the homes, and that's the reason why we went to each individual home to look at any kind of damages. But this time we're doing public roads and bridges and things like that. So we're getting it from soil and water and from our town and village highways and all that. So I do need that by 10 a.m. tomorrow if I can. That would be great.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom.
County emergency.
DEC, who's going to
Thank you. Again, my name is Scott Shealy. I'm the Regional Permit Administrator in the DEC Region 8 office. I'm here with John Gibbs. He's our Natural Resource Supervisor, oversees the biologists in our Fisheries Department, our Habitat Protection Office, and other various programs related to natural resources. We're here to give you a quick overview of some of the permitting approvals that are available and in place for storm recovery work. Obviously, up to this point, our officers and other staff have been very involved down at Lodi Point with the emergency rescue operations, debris management, and that kind of thing. Now we're kind of moving into more of the post-storm recovery work, permitting activities and things like that. So what we've done, there are a number of things, first off, that I should say about just what needs a permit. Obviously, most of you are aware that if you're doing excavation work or filling work in the lake itself, that requires a permit from the department. There are also a number of protected streams in this area that need a permit for disturbing the bed or banks of those streams when you're doing stream bank stabilization or road and culvert work and things like that. But there are also quite a few streams in this area that are not regulated as protected by the DEC. And we have some maps up here, at least of the communities on this side of sort of the divide on the Seneca Lake side. There are communities affected on the Cayuga Lake side. We don't have those maps with us here tonight, but basically for those activities then, we've issued a general permit that covers stream channel restoration, debris removal, bridge and culvert replacement and repair, and installation of stream bank protection measures that would be associated with storm recovery work. Some of that has already taken place under provisions we have for emergency authorizations for municipalities to do work. I'll just say a word about that for a moment. Under our emergency authorization provisions, municipalities can do work that's necessary to take steps to protect life, health, and property. If they need a permit for that work, they should notify us within 24 hours, and then we get them the emergency authorization that's needed. In this event, our guidance has been for those municipalities to keep track of what they're doing and where, so that even after the fact we can follow up and provide whatever authorization may be needed for FEMA purposes. Because in the event FEMA gets involved in flooding assistance for an event like this, we've experienced over the years that they do look to see that municipalities or individuals have gotten the necessary approvals from the state agencies or whoever they need approvals from in order to be eligible for the funding. So while it's not the first priority when people are trying to unplug culverts and everything, we have advised municipal officials to at least keep track of where they're working, what they're doing, to keep track of photos and that kind of information. But getting back to the general permit, I wasn't sure of the size of crowd that would be here, but I have about a dozen copies of what we have in hard copy, but it's also available on our website at www.dec.ny.gov, and you can search in the little upper right-hand corner on storm recovery permits, and there's a page where we have several of those, including Lake Ontario information that we're still dealing with even this year. If there is an activity that's not covered under the general permit, we still have the ability to expedite and streamline permitting for minor activities. That would include activities that are needed along the shoreline of the lake to repair beach areas or recover stone that's along the shore, or remove stone from docks and areas. to the pre-existing conditions. We know some people in the deltas of these creeks have been affected in that way, and we've already issued multiple permits for that kind of activity. In addition, it isn't my agency's permit, but I should mention it, that on these unprotected, non-regulated streams, at least by DEC's classifications, they are still considered waters of the United States, so the Corps of Engineers has some jurisdiction over those streams. The good news is they've activated an emergency permit that pre-authorizes many activities that would be involved with storm recovery, stream bank stabilization, culvert repair, and things like that. I have a fact sheet on their emergency permit. It's something that they have a couple contacts you can call. Maggie Crawford is in the Buffalo district, and her number is on the fact sheet, and also Joe Rowley in their Buffalo office. And if you have questions about their authorization, you can call them. But it covers a pretty wide variety of things. So if you're on a Class C non-protected DEC stream, chances are you already have the approvals you need in place to do the work. But it's always a good idea to call our office too, to just touch base and describe what you have to do, and then we can provide you the guidance on whether you need any DEC permits. We also, in those locations, work pretty closely with the Soil and Water Conservation District offices in Schuyler and Skinnick County. They have a good staff of qualified people that can help provide guidance on stream bank stabilization techniques, channel restoration techniques, and things like that. So they're a good office to contact for some technical guidance and putting a plan together if you have an extended reach of stream that you need to be doing work in. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here tonight, I guess. And as one of the other speakers said, we did have a conference call today on debris management. We are looking as the DEC at what our options are and our resources are to assist in that way. We have been involved very early in this process with one of our response contractors in managing some of the debris that's been collected from out of the lake, and we're actively working with some of those roll-offs that are at some of the drop points and collecting those and processing those. But we are evaluating how long that goes and to what scope that entails. But it's my understanding that there'll be further discussions on that with local officials. We had a lot of note-taking this afternoon in prep for this. I probably missed something, so I'm going to ask John if he has anything to add.
Oh, I feel good.
What you're saying? Good job. Okay. Thank you. I'm sure there'll be questions for me. Whether you want to take those now or at the end, I'm not sure. But
Why don't we wait?
Okay.
And first thing, there's 5 chairs up here. If you folks would like to come up and sit down. I mean, you don't have to stand. There is. Yes, George.
There's ice water in the back here in the ice chest. If anybody wants some holler, we'll bring it up to you. Raise your hand, we'll bring it up.
Okay, I guess I'm being asked to pass it to DOT at this point.
My name is John Sexton. I'm with New York State DOT Region 3. Our offices are in Syracuse. I'm the Regional Director of Operations. We have a residency up in Waterloo. It's a combined residency that covers Cuban and Seneca counties. I thought I was going to answer questions, and I thought it was going to be about Upper Lake Road. Upper Lake Road Bridge is closed right now, but we're working together with the county and Town of Lodi Highway, and expect to have it open Friday. The bridge rail is missing, and we're putting in temporary concrete barrier tomorrow and Wednesday. And the wearing surface was washed right off of the bridge with exposed reinforcing bars. We put millings on it last week, and that's not going to last up to snowplows over the week or over the winter. So we're going to pave that Thursday and Friday. We wanted to get that open before school started. And that bridge is supposed to be replaced next year. The last I heard, it's supposed to be, the contract's supposed to go to bid in February of 2019. The other question we had was about the stream restoration of Mill Creek. And We have an emergency standby contract. Prime contractor is Suco, but we have a subcontractor named Sessler who's going to be restoring that stream, Mill Creek, under the supervision of the DEC people. We do roads, we're not as good with streams. We've sent 3 out-of-residency crews of between 10 and 12 people with pieces of equipment from other residencies in the Region 3 here. We had VACCON trucks from 3 other regions here assisting. We still have 1 out-of-residency crew working today, tomorrow, and if necessary, Wednesday. I've been talking to Roy Gates from the county, and Jack Wickham from town of Ovid, and Rick Jaycott from town of Lodi Highways.
Turn you over to the senator.
And we're, to find out what work do they need done that they can't handle with their resources. And we had those discussions Thursday and Friday. And actually I was talking with Jack starting, or with Rick Jaycott starting on Sunday, a week ago Sunday. And as I recall, we have 5 pieces of local work left to do. We're going to give that to our emergency contract, Suco. Suco is currently working on Route 89 and probably will be until the middle of next week. But after that, they'll start working on those 5 local projects that need to be done. There is one bridge, it's the Marsh Creek Road Bridge. It was a culvert actually. They got blown a quarter mile downstream by the flooding. Fortunately, you know, it's not passable right now. It's going to take upwards of $1 million worth of work to replace that. It's going to take some extensive design work to replace that. Fortunately, I don't believe it carries an awful lot of traffic. It doesn't seem to have a very onerous detour, so I think there's time. I think the department was contacted by somebody from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and there's some bio crossing funds that might be available for that. I'm sure it won't pay for the whole bridge, but certainly our people in planning, we've got a lot of local highway and bridge projects and funding available. I don't think anything's started on it yet. We're trying to take care of the more immediate concerns, but I would guess that, you know, in the future that will get replaced with probably a bridge, maybe a culvert, but you know, we really hadn't put a lot of thought into that yet, because like I said, we're working on the more immediate concerns right now, and that's going to take a good-sized design effort and quite a bit of money. And I guess we're saving questions for the end, Lee?
Yes, sir.
Who's next?
Jessica Rogers. Thank you, sir.
I just figured.
Jessica Rogers, are you here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Take your names on the list.
I wasn't planning on talking.
Uh-oh. It says flood relief committee.
Yep, yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Rogers, I'm the Hector Town Board. And there's a group of people who got together, town board members, supervisors, fire department, who wanted to figure out how to organize the volunteers. There's a lot of people who needed help in the private sector, and there's a lot of people willing to volunteer, but there was no way to communicate and connect the two together. So we've gotten together, we've started a Facebook page as a way to communicate called Between the Lakes Flood Relief 2018. There's also a GoFundMe page along with that same name, Between the Lakes Flood Relief 2018. And I just wanted to stress something that Tony had touched on, that it's really important that you call 211 because that's the database. And we have volunteer organizations, VOADs, they're volunteer organization assisting in disaster. And they are groups that are willing to come in with heavy equipment. Some of you may already know Samaritan's Purse, which is here. But they're only going to come in if there's enough need. And they will serve private residents. So we need you to call 211.
And so they can collect that information and get it back to us, and then we can get it to them and tell them the need. The biggest snag, at least in the town of Packer right now, and I don't know if it's the same here, is figuring out a way to get the debris to another location. So one of these volunteer organizations does have dump trucks, and I don't believe that Samaritan's Purse does. Does anyone know anything different? I think Samaritan's Purse has excavators and such, but they don't have dump trucks. So to get this other BOAD to come in with dump trucks, there needs to be enough need, and we know that there's need. We know a ton of people have debris, but the only way we'll figure out where you are, your name, your phone number, your address, is if you call 211. So please do that and tell everyone that you know to call 211. Thank you.
That's what you're doing. If anybody from one of the organizations. I don't want to say the only thing is that if there are any volunteer groups like the, United Ways, who want to say something about it.
Is anybody here from the United Way, any volunteer groups that would like to speak?
I forgot. Sorry, Carol. First off, there is a GoFundMe committee, and I think you folks should know who's on that committee. I believe Luke is on the committee, on the GoFundMe committee. I know George is. George, who else is on there?
There's only 3 of us. We're on the account that we opened for this, and it's myself, Deb Bush, and Joe Morse. Deb is with the Lodi Lions Club. Mr. Morse is from the Lodi Town Board. I'm from the Lodi Fire Department. We'd like to get somebody from the Hector Town Board as well as the Covert Town Board or Lodi Town Board. We got some money in the bank, but we don't know how we can spend it.
And if you want to contact this in order to donate, it's Between the Lakes Flood Relief 2018.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you do that, and I've heard through some other folks who have contacted me that there's going to be some other donations made. I don't know, I saw Bill, I don't know, Bill, if you're involved with Lions Club and over the lot, but I was told that the the Waterloo Lions Club was thinking about making a donation. They're going to contact somebody in the Lions Club in Overton.
Deb Bush is the president of the Overton Lions Club, if you want her to answer some questions for you.
And people can donate directly to the bank. It's the community bank in Ovid. I don't remember the address right now, but if you put Between the Lakes Flood Relief 2018 and the check is written out to that, and you send it to the community bank in Ovid, the donations will go to the same account that the GoFundMe page goes to.
Well, I guess if you have questions for these 3 gentlemen over here. Yes, ma'am?
I'm Deb Bush. I'm from the Lodi Lions Club, and I just need to say a few things. Our club has been able to get a grant from Lions International and also from our New York State Foundation, and we have money that we will be putting in under certain categories in this community. We're allowed to help with food, cleaning supplies, medicine. We've been buying first aid kits. So a lot of money will be coming in, and we'll be working on that. We're also feeding some of the volunteers. And the reason that I'm here representing the club is because I was asked by the health department to be the initial 211 contact, and so I just come here and volunteer every day to connect. And I'm the person that's doing the Facebook page. I'll say it up and let y'all know it's me. I basically refer to it as a clearinghouse of information. As soon as we get information, I'm trying to get it out to the residents because a lot of people don't have time to come up here to the firehouse. And we wanted to make sure as much information as we had here, you all had. So that's what I've been doing. Yes.
Facebook page, is it?
It's called Between the Lakes Flood Relief 2018, and that's where I'm posting anything that I'm given of information from anybody that, you know, it could be Red Cross, it could be anybody. I'm getting that up there so it's shared with you.
I understand that also is not just for Lodi, but it could be used for Shelburne.
That's correct.
Any places that any
place between the lakes.
I think there's going to be some kind of a program that's going to come out to have people be able to possibly look into this. I'm not sure about the financial of that.
And the other thing we are doing, we felt it was very important under what I call health and safety, is the Lions Club is helping with the water test. We're trying to do that and pay the fee so that homeowners, I know they've had enough.
Yes.
I mean, enough things. So
Are those kids here now and then?
I have a few left, and we're going to be trying to get more. And on the days that we can take them to the health department, I'm going to have somebody will gather them here. And
Everybody should have the water tested before you use it.
So that's the other function we're trying to help you with. It's just we feel like it's give back to your community. Some of my members are from this community, and we want to help, so that's why I'm here.
Tom, can the county test your water?
Well, we're a drop-off point, go-between.
Okay.
We don't have an actual lab, but that's bottles that she was talking about, most of them from these kits are from life science labs. So we have a courier that comes in, picks up, and people can drop off there.
So
There's probably no charge for that, is there? Not true.
Yes, there is a charge, but
That's what the Lions Club is
The Lions Club is
indicating that they were going to pay for it. The sample does cost $20.
The Lions Club's paying for that, otherwise it costs me $20 per test.
So we do bottle of water, put our address on it, and that's it?
There are very specific, if you folks will hang on a minute, they'll explain it to you. Okay?
There are very specific directions on how to do your water test. George McShane is going to let everyone know. We have to test our water here on a regular basis, so we're...
On each of the bottles, there's directions. We had 11 samples come in today. They accepted 1. It's not the county's fault. Some of our people collected the samples too early. We didn't get them down there early enough. We're going to try to correct that tomorrow. But when you take these samples, the bottles are sterile. Read the directions on them. Keep the bottle cap clean. Don't touch anything to the inside of the bottles. There is a pill in there that's been smashed up. And when you take your sample, keep it cool until you get it here. Hopefully tomorrow we will have sheets that we can sign for your water so that we can keep track of who's taking it. On each bottle there's a place for your name, your telephone number, and I believe your house number. Fill them out before you take your sample because if you get the outside wet, it's not going to work. That was one of the problems with some of the samples today.
And then also, you have to take these samples after 11 a.m. 1:30.
Is that correct, Tom?
Correct. Take your sample after 11:30. If you're time challenged like me, just call it good. Alright. The reason for that is the courier has to take it to the lab and the sample has to be tested within 24 hours.
Yep. And what days do you accept samples?
We take samples Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
Yeah.
Monday afternoons, we can take them also. But for the sake of ease, call it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. More.
Where do we get the bottles?
This is just a fox. I'm probably gonna get shot. But, you know, the people that I visited with on Saturday, they're devastated, right? They're suffering, they're trying to get their homes have been taken down to the studs, they have no electricity, no power, and it's great, you know, that everyone is willing to help with the water samples, but is there some way that county or the municipalities or maybe a volunteer group can get out to the homes, be more proactive, get out to the homes and do this? I mean, this stuff sounds like very common sense stuff, but when you're under stress and you don't know where your family's gonna sleep at night, or it's...
After we got the shocking news this afternoon, Deb and I decided maybe it would be much easier if her husband and I came down around the lake shore tomorrow morning after 11:30. If you need help getting your sample, we'll help you. We'll see that they're cool, we'll see that they're delivered down to the county before 2 o'clock.
That is amazing, Dave, because I know so many people don't even have transportation, so that's incredible. Thank you very much.
If you're gonna bring your sample up here, it's between 12 and 2 then? It's gotta be dropped off?
Yeah.
It's 2 o'clock for picking it up, you're saying?
George, what specifically are you testing for?
I believe they're...
Bacteria. Total call for bacteria.
I don't wanna make this difficult for anybody, but a lot of us don't even have mailboxes anymore, so how's we gonna get the results back? Phone?
That's why the telephone number is important.
Emails on there as well.
They said we're about 2 weeks on getting results back. We had somebody say that they were told they're out 2 weeks on getting results back.
If your sample is good, the lab just sends an email report. And they wait 7 days before they do it. If the sample is bad, they call it. So notifications are made, so people aren't drinking bad water.
Hey folks, if you'd like to hear what these people are saying, you're going to have to quit talking among yourselves. You know, it'd be nice if you want to hear some of these people and know what they're talking about. You're not going to be having 14 conversations around the room. If you do, nobody's going to hear anything. And that's not what we're here for. We're here to help everybody. So, with saying that, does somebody want to come up and talk to this panel and talk to the group? If you do, come up here in an orderly manner, sign in, put your name down, and talk to us.
Are the reports done? You want us to wait till the end? We were waiting for the reports to be done. I was asking if the reports are done.
They're not done. We're done. I'll tell you when they're done, okay?
You still want to ask a question?
You want to ask me a question? Come on up. And I'll put your name down. Wait just a second, sir.
Mike Mott.
First of all, we're homeward down on Lodi Point, we sell properties, on the property right where Mill Creek, where the staging area was, where the wood is. First of all, I'd like to thank, number one, Luke Latini, who's tremendous. Number two is Senator Helming. She showed up down there. She's been there, I think, 3 different times. She's hands-on, and hopefully she's going to get it done for us. And I guess my questions, if I have one, Scott, probably directed to you. Like we own the property on the north side of Mill Creek where it's going to be redone. Will owns the property on the south side, so I assume we'll be somewhat involved once you get going or something. As far as accessing the, accessing the creek and stuff like that. Sounds like Cecil's going to be doing the work.
Well, I can need a permit. I don't know if you have a microphone for me, but I can answer your question and you can.
The question is about Mill Creek. We have issued a permit to DOT for the Mill Creek restoration work. I'm not sure exactly how far from the mouth, south or north, that work goes. Perhaps you can explain it, but any landowner north or south of Mill Creek who has shoreline work that needs to be done can also contact us for a permit. And we'll work with you on your plans as far as any excavation of excess material, restoration of beach walls, things like that. But
Are we, the stuff that's, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think TNR is going to be there until Friday. And, you know, they're cleaning up everything along the road. And they don't know the answer to this either. And you mentioned it previous, so we probably none of us know it yet. But the stuff that's in the water, the TVs and you know, the couch and all the chairs and crap, are we going to be responsible for that, or that'll shake out in the long run? I think we mentioned that, and you just don't know the plan yet for it, correct?
well, from what I've been told, we have been on site with canal barges and things removing debris from the lake. How far close to the shore that's been happening, I'm not really sure. As you mentioned, TNR has been out there collecting roll-offs from drop points, and I believe they are committed to that through Friday. Discussions are ongoing about the resources available to continue that, and that's, again, the conference call that was today, and we should have more information on that later in the week.
And thank you to you and the DEC, your guys did a heck of a job. They were down there getting dirty, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to recognize too, we have an officer in the back who has probably been involved with a lot of this initial response effort. He and many others from our agency have been down working very long hours on this response. So I didn't want to, I saw him walk in late and I didn't want to neglect his
along with a lot of other people, they did a great job. So thanks a lot, and we appreciate it.
Sally?
Hi, I'm Sally Sumner. I'm from the other side. I'm from Interlaken Beach Road. So I have a question. I heard that FEMA was around collecting data, but I don't remember them coming to us. We had damage also. So how do we get them to come to us?
Just see me after, give me your address.
Okay. And then my other question is for DOT. This may seem unrelated, but to me it's not. You have signs up on Route 89 telling people that there's Interlaken Beach Road detour. They are not on Interlaken Beach Road. The detour has nothing to do with Interlaken Beach Road, and it is a concern for me because if emergency people were coming from Waterloo and I needed somebody to come and they see this sign that says here's a detour to go to Interlaken Beach Road and it has nothing to do with Interlaken.
Are you sure it's our sign?
Yes.
Yes, and you've been told that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, they were told that right at the time, and whatever the workmen were, sort of like, I don't know, and they put it up anyway.
I live on Interlaken Beach Road. I don't want people being closed.
No, it's a dead end.
Yeah.
It's wires.
The real Interlaken Beach Road has nothing to do with that sign.
I'll look into it. But I have a hard time believing it's our sign because Interlaken Beach Road, as far as I know, is in a state route.
Yeah.
My house is on it.
Yes.
It's County Road 153 is what the...
153.
Now, County Road 153 was closed, right? It might still be closed. There's a county project on it.
Yeah. But it says Interlaken Beach Road detour.
I'll look into it, but if it's Interlaken Beach Road is a county road, I don't understand why it's a DOT sign. But I'll find out tomorrow what's going on with that.
I'm Daniel Wilcox, I live down on the Lodi Road. I'm on the part of the Lake Road that is kind of forgotten, because when you come down the hill, before you go across that first bridge, Lower Lake Road turns to the right. Well, I'm the first place on the right, other than on the left, against the Halsey Run Creek. And the Halsey Run Creek is a runoff creek that normally doesn't have any water in it at all, unless there is water. Well, myself and my neighbors across the way, we lost our seawalls. And I understand that that's going to be our responsibility. But what's happening is because there's about 2 to 3 feet of gravel that has brought the bottom of the creek up, so that my lawn is like 3 feet above that. And before I had a 4-foot long wall, and the creek was like a foot below, so it was like 5 foot to hit space for water. Now there's like 3 feet. That's all there is. And they tell us there's no one can take that water out, that we have to pay, not water, the gravel out, that we have to pay for that, but it's our responsibility. And I don't believe that's very fair, because above that bridge, when you come down and they go across, above that was all cleaned out, and the edges were all fixed and everything, but they didn't come this side. I know there's not very many of us down there, but I've lost about probably 5-6 feet of my lawn, which is, it's a no. But it's creeping towards my septic system, and it's going underneath my garage wall, underneath the footer, and they're telling me it's my responsibility to do something. And all the guys that I never talked to when I was trying to get some over there, they tell me, I can't tell you for sure. And the part of the problem is, right now the creek is totally to my side. The creek is crooked like this. So it's against my land. So it's washing. And it's the trees, there's about 5 trees from that bridge down to my place, that all the roots are showing on the big trees. All the roots are all washed out. And the guy across the way, he couldn't be here tonight. He asked me if I could say, whose responsibility is that? If those trees go over, they're going to rain right on his house. I know. I'm just kidding this side. It's on the east side of the falls. They're exposed so much. And is there anybody can help with a seawall? I mean, we're talking.
You folks want to talk, why don't you go outside? Yeah. Hey, Joe. You folks want to talk, we can't hear when you're talking, okay? Thank you.
I just wondered if there's anything, any way that a seawall mean anything to anybody but me. I mean, I know I'm one person down there, and my neighbor's the second person, but it isn't the seawall that may spend a lot of expense, but it's because the creek is up so far that we're going to build an 8-foot seawall, something way above everything, in order to help.
I don't know how to answer the question.
Okay.
You got your name?
Yes.
Your contact information?
Yes. I'll put my phone in.
Phone number, you got it.
Is that I'm a neighbor, by the way. Excuse me, if you want to later, you can look at the maps to see who owns the creek until, because it's one of those non-classified creeks, although it's affected by ours. It connects to Mill Creek, so we're affected by the other creeks. Just sit there and they don't have electricity. How can we utilize the energy? Get out there.
Well, I'd like to say that everybody that has been here to help has done a great job. We just have questions about what's happening in the future. So, thank you for everybody that's been here. My question is for this young lady here about, you said FEMA was going to be here Wednesday and Thursday. Well, most of us, like you originally said, we're a neighborhood that pulled together. We're not home. There's been people at her house twice now. We're not home. We ended up getting the place condemned, had to have it removed because the code enforcer came through, couldn't get in, didn't see it. We had to spend the whole day fighting with the county to get the signs removed so we could get our power back. Now, my question is about the FEMA. Do we need to make appointments? Are you coming door to door? We're not usually, we're a neighborhood that bands together. We're not there.
I understand your question, and the FEMA visits were last week for the individual assistance. So this week when they're coming, it's just to look at the public roads, bridges, basically the county and town damage. Last week it was the individual ones.
Certainly most of us missed our individual.
No, they saw, all right, no, listen, all right, I think you're misunderstanding, hold on a second. We have a list of all the homes that were damaged. If you're worried that your home didn't get looked at, we saw a lot of homes where people weren't home. This is not the assessment where they come into your home and they see everything. This is just the preliminary. They're just kind of getting an eyeball kind of look to see about the damage. This is not like, if we get the presidential declaration, they will come back and then you're going to see them inside your home and really taking care of really getting to the nitty gritty. This is just the very preliminary. So I'm sorry for that confusion, but and this week is the public preliminary damage assessment, and it works the exact same way. It's just the collection of just the preliminary kind of eyeball. We get the, just to see if we met the threshold. There's a certain threshold that we have to meet, and that's just what this is. So if we get that threshold, you will see them then.
So Tony, maybe it would help too so people understand. There are 3 different thresholds, it's my understanding. First, there's the county threshold. The county has to meet a certain threshold, right?
So that's got to be determined. Then the state has to meet a certain threshold. And then the governor will do the request for a FEMA emergency declaration. So there's a number of steps. It takes a while to get through all of those steps. I know some of the things I heard from people too, they were saying, well, they expected to get financial relief from FEMA. I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of steps that have to go through. That's why at the state end, we're working on it at the same time as the feds. So if you haven't been visited, as Tony said, don't worry about it. They have the preliminary information, and it sounds like if a certain threshold is met, they'll be back out to get more detailed information. But that's why, and I hate to say this, I hate to burden you, I keep hearing about, you want to alter your creek, you want to clean out, you want to protect your property, you have to go to a website and get a permit, when you don't even have freaking electricity, or you don't have your computers because they're in a lake somewhere. And now, I just feel like you keep getting dumped on more and more, and that somehow we have to figure out how to streamline. But we will work on finding assistance. I don't know that there's going to be any available. I know Lake Ontario flooding, we were able to work with. I actually carried a bill that passed in the Senate and the Assembly, got signed off by the governor, that provided for flood relief for the people living along Lake Ontario, and it included brick walls. And it included dwellings, but it didn't include contents or anything like that. And we'll be fighting for that, and we'll be working for that. A couple other things. I sit here and I listen, and I have to say, like, my heart is breaking. It's so great, all the good work that's being done, like 211, that's incredible. But my office is getting calls, and when I was out on Saturday, what I was hearing especially from were the people from Sheldrake Point, that when they called 211, that they're referred to the volunteer fire companies, and they call the volunteer fire companies and they say, this is the wrong place to call. And then I hear about, you know, the DD is still trying to figure out who's going to remove all the trash, the debris, because the state, we committed to taking care of that. But then I hear about volunteers are having to spend their time and their effort and their energy taking care of that too. So I'm sorry, I'm on my soapbox, I'm ranting and raving, but that's why these meetings are so good, and why I encourage you, keep giving your feedback. These guys are here, they want to hear it, because it'll help us as we have these phone conversations. It'll help us formulate a plan for trying to make things more streamlined for you, trying to get the things done that need to be done. I'm sorry, Lee.
And my second question is for you about these permits. Now you say permits to rebuild our beaches. Many of us in this room not only lost beach, we lost a yard too. And we know there's a fine line between what used to be our property line and what used to be the beach. And to have to get a permit to rebuild our property, it gives me the old story, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. We might as well go ahead and rebuild our property and ask for forgiveness later, instead of waiting for some permit to be able to do the work we need to do.
Yeah, we get that question a lot. The permits that we issued last week were issued within a couple days. We expedited those reviews, and we'll do the same for anybody else that needs to apply for a permit. I can tell you our experience on Lake Ontario has been one that when people went ahead and did the work, now they're having trouble getting funding from the agencies that actually are passing out the funding. So that can be a difficulty later if somebody does come up with some money to provide funding. I do want to, as far as the yards go, if it's clearly yard, it is clearly above the mean high water line of the lake, you don't need a permit. That work can be done with material that's also in the upland area, outside of the lake, outside of the stream, and if you have material to respread and regrade lawn in those areas, you don't need a DEC permit.
Well, I heard from one of the cleanup crews today that they were taking the dirt down to Sampson Park, sifting it, and they're going to bring the dirt back.
The operation that's going on at Sampson Park, which we issued an emergency authorization for, is for sorting debris and waste that have been collected at these drop-off points. It has a sufficient amount of dirt and silt and mud and stuff in it that the landfills don't want to take it in that condition. So that operation is to separate the fine material and the soil from that material, some of which could contain contamination of various sorts, depending on what washed downstream. So that material is going to be tested and either disposed of at a landfill if it's contaminated, or if it's clean and can be reused, it will be used as clean material. I do want to address the stream question that came up before about the Class C stream. There are a lot of situations out there where streams are private property. Your property line might go to the middle, it might go to the edge, depends on where that property boundary is drawn. We don't have resources to go on everybody's private property and clean streams, if that's what you want to call it. If you're in proximity to a town bridge or culvert or DOT bridge, there may be some debris removal that they are undertaking and can look at, areas up and downstream that may also help the flow through that structure. We work with DOT on projects like that. And in fact, that's what we're doing with DOT at Mill Creek and Breakneck Creek, and we work with them on those permits. We do have some material I brought with me tonight, not on our website, but it is also on our website if you have access to that. Guidelines for post-flood stream construction. We have some information here about channel sizing. And what I mean by that is that streams are inherently unstable. Anybody who lives near a stream knows that they are subject to erosion, they're subject to movement over time, and in events like this, those movements can be rather large. but they also carry a lot of bed load material. And our stream sizing guidance that we put together in conjunction with the post-flood stream mitigation training program, which the Soil and Water Conservation Districts participate in. There's several trained people in this area. The goal is to restore channels in a way that helps carry the appropriate amount of bed load when the stream is under certain storm conditions. You don't want it too big because the material just drops out, creates bars, and goes wherever it wants to. You don't want it too deep because then the banks are too steep, and then the guy downstream is going to get the material once it washes out of the storm. So there's a fine balance in stream channel restoration. There's a whole science to it that I'm not an expert in, but we do have some guidance materials developed by the experts to help provide that kind of guidance. I know it's not necessarily the answer that people want to hear as far as state coming in and cleaning out all the streams, but the fact is it is private property in most cases, and while we're there to help with permitting and some guidance, there are limits to what we can do. But we do have some materials up here I can provide if you'd like to take advantage of that afterwards.
Well, good evening. My name is Vito Brancato. I live in Sheldrake, down at the point of the park. And I guess my question is a little more fundamental, and it actually speaks to what you had mentioned earlier about dealing with response and communication. That morning, standing in 2 feet of water, and my house is totally flooded, calling 911, and then being put on hold, and then being transferred to, I think, another 911, and and then suddenly nothing. We waited several hours to get any response. I'm not sure who can speak to that here, but the lack of response was unacceptable. Even people are still asking, was there a flood in Sheldrake? And we, myself and several neighbors had to be taken out when Ray DeLong, he has a big equipment up the road, and he came down with his front loader, and so we had to hop on the bucket there to get out. So that's my question deals with the lack of response and that from shelter. And same thing with the FEMA, I have the same question that was raised earlier about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Very valid question. I thank you for bringing it up. I don't have a whole lot of answers right now for that, but I want to assure you that we are looking into it. What I'd like from you is your phone numbers. Anybody that called 911 that day, if you could stop by and see me tonight and give me your name and phone number, because it's much easier to try to find the 911 call so that we can look into what actually happened that day and to find out where the breakdown in communication was, or the breakdown was. I'm sure that you can imagine it was a very, very hairy day. I know that they were getting people in as fast as they could because they were, within just a couple of minutes, the resources within our 911 center was definitely exhausted. I want to hear your stories, and I want to get to the bottom of it so that we can make sure that that never happens again.
And there are a lot more people who call than.
Yes, but I'm talking about the lack of response. So anybody that feels like they have lack of response, if you can see me, give me your name. I've already taken down one of them, but I won't say that name right now. But I've got one name, but it's much easier for me to be able to get that information off of our CAD if we have that information. Do you see me afterward? Or, yeah.
Whenever we call 911, just make an answer your question, we go across the lake.
Yeah.
They put us in home, and then it's shipped up there. And that's because of lack of towers and that. And I know, being a member of the fire company, about the tower situation. So, just shifting of 911 calls happens. And I don't know what can be done about, well, I do know what can be done, but it costs money.
Right. Well, but that's something that we might be able to address. We just have to figure out where, you know, it starts with the information first so that we can realize what actually happened, and then just address the needs as it comes up as we can address it. So we'll do the best job we can. I assure you that I've already talked to my operations manager in the 911 center, and we're on it, but that information from you is vital in order to be able to really know what happened.
Thanks, Tom. Who's next on the list? Next, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Acknowledging that a lot of people had a lot more damage. There's a lot more need. We do want to say, don't forget Interlaken. Nobody reached out and called our mayor, who is who I called. We have a few houses that flooded our elementary school there. And we have basically a failed stream. But water came rushing down 96A, veered off a property, went into a creek. And we should call the creek, really a class C. Came down, and 3 properties were slammed with this river because there is no bank and there is no depth. The rocks have piled up. On the 3rd property, they were complete cloggage of stones. And the property before me has no bank and no depth, so it came around a corner, veered off, and slammed me with about 8 inches of sand. And it was about a 50-foot spot that got buried, which would be nice if I had a lawn, but I have gardens. So it'd be a while digging those out. So I understand it's private property, but I don't know how homeowners are expected to get in and dig these things out, or to get to the point where they're actually useful. And I understand that beyond us, the house that flooded on Mechanic Street, that there used to be a concrete culvert, and according to a person who lives across the street, DOT came in some years ago, replaced it with 2 pipes, making a bottleneck. So the house there is flooding, and the property they have across the creek is a floodplain. So it'd be nice if, don't forget us, because nobody's mentioned talking about it. I think you call our one name first, our mayor.
He's here.
He's here. He is there. Right.
And this is why we're having this type of meeting, to try to find out how we can get some help for everybody, because it's astronomical, the amount of money that is going to need to be spent in order to put this back close to the way it used to be.
Yeah, I understand. What I was thinking was when people were talking about who they went out to their properties and talked to people and saw houses, I would think the first contact would be to contact the main elected officials in each area, and no one mentioned Interlaken once.
Yeah, and I could tell you, because people looking at me, I feel like, what? I haven't been to Interlaken. Someone tonight at the door told me about Interlaken. But if you're an elected local official, call me. Call me. Have my contact information. Let me know. I will be there instantly. Whatever I can do. And also, I'm sure there's communication between the county and all the local electeds. Are they included in the FEMA review and all of that as well? Included in when you're going out with FEMA and the state emergency management?
Well, we're letting them know that FEMA, being around, but I don't know the state in order to do that,
But the mayor must know that this week, there's a due date by tomorrow, or?
No, I don't.
No.
I've been made aware of nothing. That's the truth.
Mayor, I would just offer that, reach out to the county, to people who are working on this. I'm happy to do what I can. I just sent a text to Kathy Calhoun telling her that you should be included on tomorrow's telephone call as well. But it's okay to be proactive too. And
I'll get up and speak before, after everybody else is done.
Maybe you should speak to Tony when you get a chance. Okay? She might tell you where you can go and get more communication. There's got to be something somewhere in the system. Okay.
Brian?
Brian
maybe Lower Lake Road, Lodi. I was fortunate, the water basically went around our house. We did lose a bunch of stuff, but we didn't lose our house. We got a little bit inside, but we're on Blackwell Creek, and my two neighbors got just trashed, cars thrown all over. And, our concern, and George is here, our concern is the creek. Because the DOT came in and took out about 100 yards of debris. At the peak of the flood, there was no water going under the bridge. It was all over the bank, going into the, hitting the back of my house and going around, going in the other side of the creek through my neighbor's house and then through George's house. The DOT came in and put it back maybe 40% of what it was before. And if there was a flood right now, if there was a downpour of any kind, there's parts of that creek that have a 3-inch bank. The DOT went maybe 150 yards or so, 200 yards, and then they said, they're done, parked the machine, left the next morning, and told me they weren't coming back.
What creek?
Blackwell Creek.
Blackwell Creek, and you're over there, Shaw Road?
Yeah, right at the bottom of Shaw Road. We're just concerned that above where they stopped, number one, they didn't put what was there deep enough, but above there, I can walk across a creek that used to be 7 feet deep. I can just walk right across to my neighbors on the other side. It's full of debris, full of rocks, and George is he's had a lot of volunteer work, which is awesome. It's tough to see the state take off and say they're not coming back when they took all the debris out of the creek and put it in my front yard and on the other side of the creek with my neighbors. There's a 10-foot high pile of debris in my yard, all kinds of gravel.
There's got to be tens of thousands to $100,000 worth of damage that has been done, but there's also still a safety concern. And I met with some DEC people, and they told us that we have to get a permit and that it's all on our responsibility to do it. We don't have the means to.
How can we dig out a 7-foot deep creek? Now, great, we got a permit, but how do we go about doing that? There's just no way.
And can you talk a little bit about how you're told about you have to get an engineer to design something?
Yeah, we were told that we had to pay for an engineer drawings, to be told what to do and then not help us do it.
I'm not familiar with Blackwell Creek, but is it on your property?
Yeah.
It crosses our property. It comes from properties way above us, just like the one that was laid out at the other end. It crosses the bridge. That crosses Lodi.
And they dug it so shallow that some of it is still leaching through on top of a driveway. Where from the driveway to the bottom of the creek before it was, like I said, 7 feet. So now it's leaching through the side.
Cindy?
Hi, I'm Cindy Wilcox. I am on the other side of the creek of Sandy Wilcox, no relation. Yes.
Hey, you guys want to talk, why don't you go on outside? Okay, we can't hear when you're talking.
So, I'm not going to beat a dead horse here about the creeks, but I do want to kind of, I don't know how the classification of creeks work. My family owns, I don't know, 50 foot of the creek. There's thousands of feet beyond that we don't own that impact us because we're at the end. So from a systems perspective, we're also, that creek is connected to the other creeks and all the other waterways. So it's difficult for us to kind of wrap our heads around why we're only responsible for this much of the creek when we're impacted by the entire system. So now we have, you know, tons and tons of concrete from 2 walls sitting in our creek, which is not very good from an environmental perspective, and also not very good from a damming perspective. And we're kind of close to the bridge on the, you know, coming down the Lodi Point Road. So I just want to kind of plant that seed, and I understand that the classification is the classification, but I would like to kind of talk to you about what our alternatives might be going forward with our creek. And I so much appreciate, Senator Helmy, that you're kind of organizing us, and it's been very helpful. And I know that I just checked out the Lions Facebook page, and it's super duper helpful. So would that be that place that we go to kind of have that kind of information? So there's going to be a conference call tomorrow, there's going to be another public forum on Thursday. What is that place where we can get all the information that's happening that we're talking about tonight?
County Emergency Management happening?
Are you referring to the...
I know this. I
mean, Wednesday is when we're going to be doing, taking them around.
Sorry, we'll be going around to do the public assistant assessment, as I said.
So, going forward, even after Thursday, if there's any more updates, is that something that your website will have? Will Senator Helmings have it? Should we go to the Lions site? Because I'm not here full time, so I would like to have access to information. I just heard from, you know, my very dear friend Morby over here that there was a meeting tonight. So I just want to make sure that if we are going to collaborate that communication, that there's some sort of central repository.
And I hear what you're asking. I just want to make it clear that I'm here as a guest of the supervisor, which I really appreciate. But as far as a centralized location, I think that falls under county emergency management.
Well, I definitely, we have an emergency management webpage.
Okay, great.
There's an emergency management webpage which I am updating, so and we're trying to push out as much information. You'll see a press release coming out tomorrow about the 211. That definitely is one of the biggest hurdles in this, is getting that information out. You definitely want to tell your friends and neighbors for any kind of information like that. Check the emergency management webpage. That page I can update immediately. It's very easy for me. So what you go to is, if you just Google Seneca County Emergency Management, New York, it will come up. And then you just click on that, and if you just go to, it will be you should be able to get to it on the front page. Now if you're on the Seneca County webpage, if you don't see emergency management at the top and you just see Seneca County, you'll see there'll be a link that will link to flood relief or something like that, right? It says Seneca County flood information or something like that. If you click on that, it goes straight to my page. So, and I just want to thank everybody too. You guys have been great. Anytime we've requested anything, we have a gazillion sandbags, and you've just been wonderful. So thank you very much.
Right or not?
Yes, sir.
I can comment on the speech.
She raised a question about stream classes, and while that's not a major issue here, I'll touch on it quickly. Most streams in this area are Class C. The state classifies streams according to the best usages, which are contact recreation, fishing, fish propagation, drinking water, and so forth. So there's many streams around here at Class C. What makes a stream protected in this area is also carrying a designation of trout spawning. As you know, the Finger Lakes have a rich fishery, and certain of the tributaries support the fish spawning that goes on in the lakes. And so there's several streams that are also trout spawning streams, or portions of the streams that are trout spawning along the lake. As far as the comment about getting an engineer to do your plan for the stream restoration, while that may be something some people want to do, as I said, there are some post-stream flood construction guidelines that we have, and I do have some information on stream cross-sections that are design guidelines based on drainage area and so forth that are, again, things that the Soil and Water Conservation District staff are very familiar with, and you know, they can be a resource for that type of question and technical assistance.
Thank you. I believe you're next, right, man?
Thank you. Hi, Ryder Jocks, Lodi Point Road. My family owns a cottage there, and we're actually 2 houses over from Cindy. I have 2 questions. One is concerning the permits from the DEC. It sounded like there were 2 sorts of permits. One was the general, and that was for, you know, cleanup around the lake area. And the other one said we need a special permit. We lost a bunch of beach stuff. The 3 houses on the east side of, what was the name of the creek?
Halsey Run.
Halsey Road Creek.
Halsey Run.
Halsey Run Creek. 3 houses, 3 properties there, all lost basically all their beach because the water came in over the land and just flushed it all out. And we lost, the 3 properties lost anywhere from 2 to 4 feet of dirt lawn, but basically all the stone got washed out, and it's now out in the water. It's not lost, it's just there in the water. And now where it used to be, you know, 3 feet deep, it's now ankle deep. So the first question I have here is, you said restoration of beach conditions. You need a special permit for that because it's going to be out in the lake. If we want to bring like an excavator in and just get some big scoops to fill in the back area from the stone that's now in the water that was our beach, do we need a special permit for that, and am I getting that right?
Yes, as I summarized before, permits are needed to excavate or fill within the lake, and that would include recovering stone that's been washed into the lake. But we have issued several permits for that kind of activity already. So if you want to stop by and get an application form today, you can do that. I have some copies. And we will review those. It does require you to submit some basic information, a photograph, a little sketch plan of the size of the work area, where the material is going to be excavated, a map so we know where you are in the world.
Sure.
We do cover 11 counties out of our office, and you know, so we deal with big geographic areas. So we do need maps for our file to identify where you're at. Is there anything else?
Would that be the general permit, or would you need to look at the property to say whether it would be the general, covered by the general permit?
If there's shoreline work that's immediately near a creek mouth, or it's a channel restoration necessary to maintain upland flow of water, we will cover it in the general permit. If not, we can expedite a minor permit, which will give you the same authorization to do the work along the lake shore. But it's not covered in the general permit at this time.
Can I ask a question about this very topic, Scott? I'm Laura Robinson, representing Sheldrake. We have our permits, but we're required to have a turbidity curtain, which is that float that holds the silt back when the stone is dredged. But that's an extremely expensive piece of equipment. And for all of the lakeshore owners, if there's a way that Senator or anyone can find a turbidity curtain that we can all share on both sides of the lake That will save homeowners a significant amount of money, and it would certainly help us. We have contractors lined up. We just can't afford $15,000 worth of turbidity curtain. Through this community, there must be some turbidity curtain that we can all borrow. So anyone that might know that, here's a communication identification opportunity to help a
I
community.
mean, part of our permit requirements are that work be done in a manner that minimizes the impact. And in this case, we have been working with the Soil and Water Conservation District to identify, some turbidity curtain that can be used. They have now acquired, I believe I was told today, 150 feet of turbidity curtain that was delivered today, and 150 more feet that will be delivered tomorrow. So for your properties and your contract, I think the arrangements are being made and should be made in the next day or two to have that available.
Okay.
And that would be the property then of, as I understand it, and unless the contractor purchases it from the district, it would be the district's property to then be able to use.
Okay.
Aaron Perzini is the contact on
That's me. I got that. Will? Yeah, that's the one. Thanks. My second question is very much concerned with this. I think it's directed more at the DOT official, representative. That same creek. The reason most of Lodi Point Park and the houses on the north side of there got flooded is because the creek overflowed and came in over the land. And this is not the first time it's done that, and it's always happened because of the bridge there. First off, credit where credit is due, that bridge is built very well, and thank God it stood up to what happened, because how else would all those first responders have gotten down to the lower area there? So, I'm not knocking that creek, that road, the bridge there is being bad, but it is small, and every time it's overflowed, and I can think of at least twice in the past 5 years where it's overflowed and coming over the world, it's because the area underneath that bridge, the gap there it's at least half as wide as the upstream side of it, and about a third smaller than the downstream side. So it's a literal choke point, and it is low. And every time it's overflowed, it's come in right there, and it can't get through that gap, so it goes over land above it. And that contributed a large portion of the water that we saw where we are coming in over the land. And it looks, that bridge has always been, on the downside, and it looks even more damaged now. My question is, you mentioned 5 projects in the area. Is that bridge one of them, and can we have assurances that if it is rebuilt, that you'll make it to accommodate the stream that is there?
You're talking about the box culvert, right?
I believe so.
Yes, I'm familiar with it. It's, that we consider that a culvert. It's owned by I just learned Friday. First to answer your question, no, it's not one of those projects.
Okay.
You're absolutely correct. In my opinion, not that I've done any analysis, but it needs to be replaced with something larger. It's safe right now, and we're keeping an eye on it because we're putting a lot of heavy trucks across it. And there's some deterioration, and some thought should be given to replacing it. In order to replace it, you have to get a permit from the DEC people. and they will tell us whether we made it big enough or not. Now, I say we, it's a town, Lodi Point Road is a county road, but I learned Friday that is a town of Lodi structure. It's a culvert.
I beg to differ with you on that.
Talk to Rick Jacob.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And Jack, and Wood Gates.
And, well, they're both wrong, according to the person that does the maps in the county.
Okay.
Mike Carlson.
But it's not a DOT bridge, right?
No, it's not. Okay. You don't care as long as it's not DOT.
Well, it's not, we don't maintain that bridge.
No.
But it does.
The county trucks use it all the time to go down and turn around. And I talked to Roy Gates, and I agreed with him finally. That I said, I'll spend half the money to replace it if you will. And he was going to do it a couple of years ago. We haven't done it yet. It does need to be replaced in the big way. I'll be quiet.
It definitely needs to be replaced, and when it gets replaced, it'll be with something that's larger. I can tell you that, and I'm sure they won't let us. They won't let it get replaced with anything the same size or smaller. They've got newer rules. The structures have to be what they call bank full width.
Right.
And it's definitely not bank full width.
Yeah. And I just want to express that it isn't concerned. It has flooded in the past. We never had this much water, so it wasn't that bad. But as long as that bridge or culvert or whatever you want to call it is inadequate to the stream, we're just going to keep seeing that area flooded again. And it's going to continue to be a danger for us. And I just want to express that to anyone who can make that change happen.
You had mentioned that the stream down between that culvert and the lake is quite a bit narrower than the stream above it.
Well, the bridge is a choke point, and it's keeping the lower side from widening and being as wide as it should be.
Right.
So, you know, that bridge has obviously had a big effect on the lower part of that stream.
Right.
But yeah, the lower side is right up against the road there. Sandy mentioned the trees there. Those trees, they're overgrown and they're right at the edge of the road there on the lower road.
The roots are showing.
And if they do come down, they're probably going to undermine the road there. And that, you know, that's a continuing erosion process, but that bridge is one of the big factors in how much flooding we're seeing, how much erosion we're seeing. And
well, before it's replaced, we'll do hydraulic analysis of the drainage area, and we'll size it properly. Right now, I'm not aware of any project that is identified for that. That would be something that would be between the town and the county, but I know that we have funding available to assist with that. We're doing several local bridges and culverts in the next couple of years under Bridge New York. So, you know, I don't know I don't think that particular structure is part of it. It might be because the town of Lodi thinks it's the Seneca counties and Seneca County thinks it's the town of Lodi.
We're going to have to put up a toll bridge.
There you go.
Good idea. But,
well, instead of passing the buck, why doesn't somebody take responsibility? If it's not for the Lodi Point access bridge or the Shaw Road access bridge, just about everybody in this room is stranded. We got to go across one of those bridges, and I'm not hearing anybody up here saying they're going to fix either one of them.
well, I'm fairly certain those discussions are going to take place. You just heard the supervisor say that, and I talked to Rick Jaycott, and he talked about an effort to get the funding together. There's a lot of needs, and there's not as much funding. So we have to prioritize, and you know, I'll be frank, until this event, you know, I didn't even know that structure existed. But
Roy was looking at that gateway, trying to get that gateway grant for that.
yeah, I think people, the county and the town, and they can work with the state and get together and figure out a way to fund it. But you know, I'm sure it's going to happen. I just don't know.
thank you. I'm glad you agree that it is a concern, and I hope that it will be done. At least put on the list of things to do. Thank you.
Hello, from Wilshire Drive, Sun Summits, Sunny campsites. First one, I want to thank Luke, mostly because he was the only one that was sending information right off the bat for helping us out. So I want to thank you because not only was he there helping us, he was also affected by it as well. I don't know if everybody knows what Luke lost a lot as well. So Ben came in with equipment and was helping everybody as well. So it was also important to us. Obviously, my wife and I lost a lot with the campground, as well as 37 other campers that were some missing, some destroyed. Some people were snowbirds, so a lot of them had everything inside their place, and you know, all their cars, all their jewelry, their wedding dresses, everything was lost. To answer the question that you guys were talking about earlier, I saw the permit from the DEC to the DOT, and the permission was granted to the first waterfall in the creek. That's where the work is, and the problem that I have with that is as many of these guys were talking about with other creeks, is that the problem is greatly, you know, enhanced further up that creek. to the point where it looks like the mountain is kind of caved into the creek. There are trees littered all over behind the campground. I own one side, when you go past the campground, there's many other owners as you go, and I believe this lady here, when she's talking about the creek on the other side, there's no sense of us fixing the bottom if it's all going to be, behind it. So, I can spend thousands of dollars to fix, 300 feet of creek and then lose everything the next rainstorm because all the stuff comes off that behind us. So, the same thing other people are saying. This lady over here, the creek that is on the other side of the bridge from where she lives, I walked up there this morning. Same thing, it's clogged up, it's over your head, there are trees all over the place. And this was no storm like we've ever had. It doesn't even appear to be a storm type issue. Some places behind the campground, the wall of water was 25 feet tall. So this is not 9 inches of rain. This is not what caused this. This is much larger than that. We've had rainstorms before, but this is epic. This is when you walk out behind the campground, and Pam was nice enough to go out there with us, and hopefully we didn't wreck her shoes. She saw part of it. I walked up further after that, and it just gets worse as you go. So the further you go, the pile of stones is 12 feet high in some places, and the next rainstorm we have, we're going to eat all that all over again. And so if we spend millions of dollars fixing the creek from the bridge to the back of the campground, almost to the back of the campground where the first waterfall is, it just seems like a waste if we're not going to fix all the problem behind it. I realize it's going to, it's a lot of money. But to answer your question, the permit ends at and I know you guys were there with us as well, that the permit ends before you get to the end of the campground. And like you guys saw, Pam saw, the problem is much further than that. So I'm not looking for answers, I just want to tell everybody because I saw the permit. So. Thanks.
My name's Fred Miller. I live down on Lodi Point. I live south of the Mill Stream. Mill Stream runs through my property. DEC wants us to have permits to work on our own property. If the Deer Creek, how come it overflowed? What happened? We talked about miscommunications. I don't know if there's any truth to this or not. But Will just mentioned we've had rain before, but nothing that came down like this. I don't mean the rain coming down like this, I mean the water. We were told that there was a dam someplace up above us, built in 1937 by the Lehigh Valley Railroad, and that dam gave away. Did anybody else hear this? Yes. Is there any truth to that?
Didn't totally give away. It did wash around the north side and bring some of the spillway blocker off.
So a lot of water came through.
There's still water up there. It's been plugged for years.
Is that dam ever inspected, DEC? That's part of the stream there. Is that part of something that gets inspected?
I'll take the mic if I can
Sure.
answer the question. If you have another one, I can answer that one as well.
But first off, the dam has been inspected in the last 5 years. The staff that is involved in that program and the dam safety program is not here tonight. But if there's additional information that's needed on that, we certainly are aware of people's concerns about that structure. As far as Mill Creek being our stream, it may be regulated, but it's not a DEC-owned stream. I get that question quite often through the 20 years I've been with DEC, and our regulation of resources isn't popular in some cases. I understand that, but requiring a permit would be akin to perhaps your question is along the lines of if the building inspector came and wanted to issue a permit for a roof, expecting the building inspector to actually build it. The program is not in place for us to take ownership and responsibility for every stream in the state. It's a program to help ensure that work that's done in the stream that's necessary is done in an environmentally sensitive manner. With respect to the Mill Street project and the work with DOT, we have, again, limits to how far we can work, and that was what was identified to work with DOT. Questions about how far upstream to go are above my pay grade, and it would be made by people much higher up than me about where to spend state resources and money. I get the question, I understand it. But again, streams are dynamic. There's a lot of destabilized areas in this whole watershed now. And you know, these things take time to work themselves out, but obviously there are places where work needs to be done to remove excess material that accumulates. Again, we're aware of the dam that's there. It has been inspected in the last 5 years. It's in our inventory.
How did the inspection go? How did the inspection go?
I don't have that information tonight. What I was told was that the conditions of the dam, as it was looked at several days ago, are nearly the same or at the same as they were inspected 5 years ago. So there was no change in the condition of the dam as a result of this storm.
Why did it overflow?
A lot of rain.
As per the inspection, do they take photos? Are photos taken?
I've asked them that discussion.
Earlier today, one of the people from TNR, I literally have an acre of land down there. And it's got 2 to 3 feet of mud from all the way surrounding my home. And the fellow asked me, he goes, have you made arrangements to get this mud out of here? And I looked at him and I said, dude, you piled all this debris up and down the road in front of the property. And you piled all the debris up and down the road over here. Even if I had the means, which I don't, to remove all this mud, we're talking tractor trailer loads of it. Where the hell would I put it? And he looked at it and he goes, yeah, I see what you mean. End of conversation, mud's still there, nobody's touching it. All I can tell you is that it came from the stream. I have no idea why it's in my yard, but it's going to be my responsibility to get it out. That's not happening.
Thank you. You can dump it on the paper. Yeah.
For those who don't know me, I'm Rich Richardson, mayor for the village of Interlaken. The village experienced significant flooding. Every road in the village was flooded. More than a dozen homes had their basements filled all the way up. Those people lost appliances, furnaces, whatever belongings they had in the basement. The governor's office did get a hold of me. We made arrangements through some people. I know them only by first name, so we did get a dumpster dropped off our DPW. That's good. The big concern I have is 2 of the culverts that caused the significant amount of flooding run under 96A and Route 96. One of them runs under one of our village roads. And I would say, maybe this is a one-time thing, but this happened last year in the village as well. So this is 2 years in a row for us. So I don't know where we go from here. How do we get those culverts expanded? Because when it happens 2 years in a row, odds are it's going to happen again. Maybe not next year, but the following year. And the same people come to me and say, well, what can you do for me? Why hasn't this been fixed? We contacted the county last year. We contacted Aaron, the Sun Water. But it didn't go anywhere, and it still isn't going anywhere. So the other concern for me is the stream that runs down Interlaken Beach Road. Our wells where we supply our village with water, our 700 residents. Some of you guys have one house to worry about. I've got 700 people to worry about. The stream bank was severely eroded. I have pictures of it. And like you guys are saying, another rainfall, a significant rainfall, is just going to cause more damage. So we lease the area where our wells are. We don't own the property, but it's in the town culvert. So who becomes responsible for that? And the one thing you guys are all finding out is we live in an over-regulated state. Yeah. You can't get anything done. If you want and expect to get any money back, you have to follow the rules. You have to get the permit. You got to hire the contractors or the engineers who are appropriate for the project you're working on. It doesn't really work in the real world like that for you guys here. So where do we go from here is the biggest step. So the biggest thing I found out of all this is the lack of communication between communities. It seems to me there should be a centralized website or a Twitter feed where the information can be picked up by anybody. I'm only here tonight because I got called by somebody who said there's a meeting in Lodi tonight. And I had no idea. And the only other information I've been getting is from our fire department and our DPW guy. So, you know, I guess what I'd like to just see out of all this is some answers on where do we go from here to protect our village water? What can we do to increase the size of the culvert so this doesn't happen again in the village? And what can we do to make for better communication for everybody? So I don't really have any questions, just some statements. Thank you very much.
George Gilbert, Lower Lake Road, down on the south end of where most of you people got hit in the north end down in Lodi. And down to the south end there, I know there's about 5 of us basically involved that got hit pretty hard. I know other people with the smaller streams got some runoff and so forth, but like I said, at 5 o'clock in the morning, there's 5 feet of water coming at us on both sides. I thought my whole house was going to go in the lake myself. And thank God for the help of the sheriffs and so forth, you know, picking us up by boat a couple hours later and taking us for it. But like I said, you know, friends and family, thank God for them, because like you said, response teams are trying to get a hold of people. I know they're concerned down the other end, and just getting our end, you know, just open so they can get emergency vehicles through and so forth. And at that time, I was there watching them, and you know, when the trucks were down there, the 10-wheelers, they were filling them up, but when they weren't, they were taking the debris and sticking it in BB's land and Jim Messenger, who's not here across the street from me, and in my land. Thank God I knew somebody. He took 37 10-wheelers off the side property for me. You know, if not, it would still be full to this day, right next to him. You know, it's not livable. You know, and you gotta have people take through. Right now, across the street from me, there's a running creek coming through the driveway. It's not in Blackwell Creek. You know, it is running there, but it's running through Jim's yard and somehow coming through that creek. And it's non-stop, and it's going down through the road on the far side, I'd say on the west side of the road. There used to be a paved road through there. And I don't know if the town's responsible or who else, but I know the buses come through there, and that roadway, I mean, it looks like landmines coming through and trying to get through that little creek, you know, Black Road Bridge or whatever you want to call it. So, yes.
Ford Focus. Lights are on. HRP 6347.
Ford Focus.
Thanks.
But no problem. No problem. But I know everybody, as far as their issues, they're talking about these culverts. They all drain. I mean, all the way up from, I imagine, 414, all the way down to basically my house was the last one there to catch all that runoff. And it's the same thing down the north end, I'm sure the same thing. And until somebody can get through there and clean out those ravines, and if we do have another rain, you know, we're going to catch it again, like they're all saying. And I know right now, that small bridge, Blackwell Creek, you know, the metal bars, the beams are all bent up, and you're sending school buses over that thing, you know, here in another few weeks. You know, who knows if that thing's going to cave in or not. You know, the spillway is way too small to handle the debris that comes through there. And like I said, the road from Jim, the water's coming, it's like a creek coming across at us. Until we can figure that out, there's no way. It used to be a paved road, now it's just a mud road for 20 yards right there. And before they even, you know, attempt to fix that and pave that, I guess, down the road, whenever that may be, you know, that water issue's got to take care of it. They'll never be able to pave that road again. It's just going to come up just like it did when the Niagara Falls came through there at 5 in the morning, ripped it apart. But I know everybody has their issues, and that creek's definitely one big one through that area down there at the far end. I know Ben has a house all the way back, and there's no creek there. It's just debris, I guess, back in that far end. And, you know, I don't know who's responsible, how it's supposed to take care as far as the road or the ravine and that ditch. But we get another rain, we're going to have the same issues that we had before. You know, it's a shame. The other thing, I don't know if there's any insurance people in here, but I'm just wondering if flood insurance takes care of, you know, like removal for that. You know, I don't know if it covers that or not, if there's any experts in here. You know, nothing, it would never take care of that, right? So if you have the natural forest in your yard next to you, it's stuck on you to get rid of it, right? That's it, good luck, right? Anyways, thank you guys for any help you had in the matters. Appreciate whatever you guys can do. That's
I'm Abe Potter from Cooperative Extension, and I know a lot of you are dealing with...
The mic is off.
Well, that's
I could have just projected, but I'm Abe Potter from Cooperative Extension. I know a lot of you are dealing with physical things that need to be happen, but I just want you all to know that we can, Cooperative Extension can provide you with lots of information if you're looking for everything from how to deal with the mold, to how to deal with contractors, how to deal with insurance companies. Hopefully when the time comes, we even have information on how to deal with FEMA. We have all the resources of the land grant system that we can make available to you in terms of that information. And if you think about it, there's lots of people that have dealt with lots of things, particularly Louisiana with Katrina, those kinds of things. So I just want to be sure to let you all know. All you need to do is call the office. It's 315-539-9251. Or, yeah, okay. 315-539-9251. You could also, I'm sure, contact Deb Bush with the 211, and we'll be in contact. And as far as that goes, people were talking about communication, and I would like to make a suggestion. Because I'm kind of in the same boat. It's like, where is a central repository? I would say that, Tony, you probably need to be talking to Deb and push out your information to her, because I know that Facebook page was doing a lot more than just pronouncements or information from one particular place. She was trying to coordinate a lot of that stuff, and I know you won't have time to like find out about what Samaritan First is doing or who's doing this fundraiser and that kind of thing. So my suggestion would be that everybody kind of coordinate through that, but it's not my job to decide things like that.
What's the name of your agency again, you say?
I'm sorry, Cornell Cooperative Extension in Seneca County.
Hey, do you do any water monitoring?
We don't do water monitoring, we do soil monitoring, or we do soil samples, or we can give you the boxes for that. And we do have some information about reclaiming soils. We have information about what you do if you have a vegetable garden that's been, you know, flooded. What do you do with all that kind of stuff? I know some of this stuff sounds like, yeah, right, I'm worried about this frickin' rock in the middle of my yard. So I realize that this sounds funny, but there may be some, if you've got anything at all, you know, ask us and
well, my tomatoes are gone. That's all I have.
Yeah, that's, you know, there's no reclaiming when it's washed out in the middle of the lake. But, thank you.
Okay, folks, that's everybody that signed up to talk. Okay? And as I said before, we do have a little bit of town business we have to take care of tonight. And I want to thank all these, first off, I want to thank the fire department. You see all this stuff up here? All this stuff up around the room here is available to people all week long, last week, and they're still going to be here for a while yet to take care of things and help everybody out. And thanks for letting us use the building and everything else. And I want to thank all you people for coming.